I produce movies, I'm on the stage, I'm behind the scenes, and I'm telling stories about people that touch my heart deeply. Because only when you do what you really love, you can be good at it for a long time. And you can stay healthy. And so I know exactly what it feels like to wear a mask and to be someone or to do something that is not perfectly aligned with who you are. You have to take the wrong path. You have to make many mistakes before you can find what is the right way for you. It's important to have a look and to visit hell before you can walk into paradise. After some time, I met a woman and I fell in love right away. She was much older than me, but she was my painkiller for loneliness in the darkness of Klagenfurt.
Some people make movies, some people fall 150 meters off a mountain and come back to tell the story. My today's guest did both, and somewhere between this cliff and his own camera, he figured something out that most men try to learn over their whole lifetime. Welcome to this discussion, Antonio La Regina.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be here.
The honor is all mine. So for our viewers who do not know you yet, can you please tell in like a couple of sentences who you are and what you hold dear?
My name is Antonio La Regina. I'm an Austrian-Italian film director, producer, host, and keynote speaker. I grew up in the northern part of Italy, and I'm living in Vienna, where I'm based right now as a filmmaker since more than 16 years. And this is what I do. I produce movies, I'm on the stage, I'm behind the scenes, and I'm telling stories about people that touch my heart deeply.
That's a very multifaceted life, I would say. Maybe even you live multiple different lives in these roles that you slip into. Which one of those roles excite you most about your identity?
It's difficult to figure out my preference because I am moving inside the panorama of being a director, a producer, a showman, an actor as well. So, depending on the situation of my life, I'm always adapting and adjusting and trying to do what I love, actually. Because only when you do what you really love, you can be good at it for a long time. And you can stay healthy.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I call this being in homeostasis. When you figure out what you love to do and when you actually figure out a way doing the things that you love to do and spend your life in this way.
It's important to be authentic. Authenticity is always number one for me, whatever I do. No matter if I'm on stage, if I'm behind the camera, whatever it is, it has to feel right for me. And if it's not in harmony with my identity, it does not work. That's the point. I figured that out throughout my life because I was doing multiple things before walking my way. And so I know exactly what it feels like to wear a mask and to be someone or to do something that is not perfectly aligned with who you are.
I think that a lot of people, especially in the early part of their life, have a similar struggle, that they are trying to figure out who they are. And maybe lots of people never ask themselves the question, who am I really? What makes myself me? And how did you figure out which of these stories is your own, who you are, who you identify with?
The question about who you are is very difficult to answer. And I think it can't be answered at all. You can just approach the truth of this. You can just come closer to yourself, but I'm not sure if anyone is able to fully understand oneself until they die and disappear. What I can say to sum up this thought is that before finding yourself, you have to lose yourself. And it's absolutely normal to go through a process of finding oneself or of approaching the real nature that is within us. So you have to take the wrong path. You have to make many mistakes before you can find what is the right way for you. I think this is absolutely necessary.
I agree, yes. And the fun thing about this question is also that there are so many different levels to it. Like, you can ask yourself, who am I in terms, am I my body, my thoughts, my mind, my soul? But you can also ask this question in the light, what story do I tell? What values do I want to carry out into the world? What values do I want to stand and oftentimes also fight for?
Absolutely.
And in which of these lights do you see your identity? Did you already come to or close to the answer, as you said, in all of these different ways? Or would you say that you focused more on the values that you want to bring into this world and that you want to stand for in this life?
I think my identity is a mix of my cultural background, which is on one side Italian and on the other side Austrian, combined with the people that I am surrounded by until today. So the people that I have met during my life and the people I'm still having around myself that made me become who I am. And this mixture between where you come from, who is at your side for the most part of your life, for the longest part, and who is at your side every day, this is the recipe, a huge part of your identity.
Absolutely, because you are living in the influence of your surroundings, right? And you assimilate the thoughts, the behavior, the mindset, but also the values of all of these people who surround you in your life. And the longer they are in your life, the more influence they have on you.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have to adjust. And you have to remove some people of your life.
Would you say that it depends a lot on the story that you tell, the frequency that you resonate out into the world, which people you attract?
This is 100% sure. I believe in the law of attraction, but I do also believe in the fact that there is a certain compatibility with people. And if you're compatible or not, this can change step by step in your life. There is a beautiful saying. People are there for a reason and a season. I really like this quote. because they can lead you from A to B, but when it's time to go from B to C, maybe it's not the right people anymore at your side. And this is important for oneself as well. So I can be enriching some other person's life for a certain period of time. But when the time has come to say goodbye, maybe you have to find somebody new at your side. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We do not have the same friends at 14 that we have at 25, at 35, or at 45. If you walk into a certain process of personal development, because not everybody is evolving in the same way, and not everybody is going into the same direction. I have one best friend that I'm still meeting and loving so much since I'm 14 years old. I'm 36 years old right now. This is something very unique, but in general, the cards of the game, they are changing all the time around myself at the rhythm that I'm changing. And so the more progress that is happening, I can see a lot of people at my side falling apart, and I see new people showing up.
Yeah. I am a strong believer that the outside world, the life that we live, is a reflection of what we carry inside ourselves, our thoughts, our values. What do you think comes first, the outside world or our inside? Which changes first?
The change starts always inside yourself. So it's about the thoughts at the end of the day. Because what you think about becomes your reality. And I'm doing a lot of personal development sessions with my coach and with some of my mentors regularly. And what I find out is that it is very important to be able to bring yourself in a very positive energy regularly so that you can maintain your thoughts powerful and positive and clean, and that you don't fall into spirals of negative thinking, because this can be a trap with no exit. And then you have to have some techniques to bring you back on track. Of course, this is easier said than done. And we all do suffer, everyone in his own way. But what I can see during the last years of my life especially is that the gate of suffering is open for a very short period of time. So the intervals of when I'm sad are shortening more and more, the more I'm doing my thought work.
So I think you have something very, very crucial here, like a key to life. And somebody close to me once said that happiness always is on the other side of suffering. Would you say that everybody at some point in their life has to suffer in order to figure out who they are or to develop themselves?
100%. Pain is the biggest and most powerful master that we can have in our lives. And it's important. It's important to have a look and to visit hell before you can walk into paradise. It is absolutely important. If I didn't suffer, if I didn't cry, if I didn't meet my biggest demons, I would not be the person I am today. Absolutely impossible. And I embrace it all. I do embrace the pain. I do embrace the suffering. I do embrace the darkness. This is the only way, the only road to success.
It's certainly a very purifying experience to go through any amount of pain. But I think something very crucial about it is that you also take responsibility about your going through this pain and not
Absolutely.
and not give up. And
we have to stop being the victim.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Every day, every morning again, you have to step out of the victim role and take command over your life. But it's not always easy, because being a victim is comfortable sometimes. And it takes a lot of discipline to leave the role of the victim behind.
Absolutely, yeah. It takes discipline and strength, but it is something so beautiful, because when you are there and when you stand up for yourself, what you're actually doing in this moment, you start to talk to your subconscious mind and you talk to your, so to say, self-image, and you tell your self-image, hey, listen, I'm here for you. You can trust me. And along with that comes the confidence and the ability to trust in yourself and your in your skills, right?
Absolutely. But at the same time, I think it's important not to exaggerate too much with positive thinking and with positive thoughts, because we always have to accept that there can be some darker days which are not so easy, and it's important not to ignore them, but to let them in, these difficult moments, to accept them and to feel them as well. And not to ignore them when something difficult happens. No, I'm feeling so good, and drilling yourself with positive affirmations only. Because we live in a society that pushes us to give our best always, and a society of optimization all the time. I think this has to have limits as well. So we have to be realistic also, and not only too positive. And I'm a very positive person. I'm a number one motivator. Number one. But I have to admit that at the same time, it's important to accept and to feel the painful moments as well, and not to ignore them with exaggerated positivity. You know what I mean?
I think I do, but maybe you can clarify that a little more. Let me tell you how I understand it, right? So if you go through some kind of suffering or through pain, by ignoring it and simply convincing yourself, or not even convincing yourself, but by forcing yourself to only think positive, you are not allowing yourself to actually go through this pain. So you forego the chance that you get from life to develop yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. But you have to find also techniques that make it easier to deal with the pain and to process it the right way. For example, journaling. This is what I do. When I'm having a hard time, I take my journal and I start to write it down. One of many examples. It's working for me, maybe it's working for others as well. Apparently, yes.
I do think so. And I have a very interesting tool as well for this. And Viktor Frankl wrote about this. He wrote that there is like a split second between an event and your emotional reaction. And when you figure out where this split second is and you capture it, then you can choose how you want to react to any event. You can choose which path of thought you want to follow down, right?
Very beautiful, yes. Yeah. It's important to know that we can control our emotions and our thoughts. We have to give our best to do so.
And you build your life around stories, and I think one of the most important part about stories is to control emotions, control the emotions of your audience, of yourself. What would you say is the important part in the story that differentiates it from being just a story to inform somebody or to capture their emotions?
I am working like a scientist when I'm a film director. Because first of all, I have to identify if there is the DNA of a story. And for being a fit, for being an interesting story, it is necessary that there is something to achieve, something to lose, that there is some electricity. Because there has to happen something. Something has to be at stake. Otherwise, it's very flat. I mean, a story can be funny also. A story can be very sad. But we have to create some sort of conflict. There has to be problems to be solved. And if there is no problem, there is no story. If there is no obstacle, there is no story. It's boring.
What do you think most people get wrong when they are telling their own story?
Most people aren't able to tell a story in a way that it can be understood. Because first of all, we have to think about the audience. What can be understood? If I want to be a powerful communicator, I have to ask myself, can the audience still follow me? I'm seeing this a lot when people do presentations or whatever. Also in the B2B area. They do presentations with PowerPoint and many slides full of text. And after 12 seconds, they lose the audience. Everybody is looking on the phone. Because it's too long. It's too much for the brain to be digested. And that's a problem. It depends, of course, on the topic you're presenting. It's a difference talking about a green apple or about a hero that has some magical power to transform the world. It's a little bit of a difference. So, mainly, we have to understand that we are not as interesting as we want to be. So it's better to be shorter and more compact with many, many topics than to extend it because people just can't follow you anymore. This is what I can say.
And when I truly believe that when people are telling their own story or the story of their life, that they have to realize that they can actually become the director of their lives, meaning that they are not, as we said before, victims, that they can stand up for themselves and decide what kind of life they want to live, and thereby creating the story of their life, right? So how can we put this art of storytelling onto this picture?
We have to identify the most important plot points in our life's story. We have to identify the most crucial moments, if there were some obstacles to overcome, and how we overcame them. I think this makes it easier, and you have to focus on things. Because not every life is as spectacular like many others. So when you have had a hard time in your life and everybody's facing some demons, that can be a good entry point because you immediately connect to the audience. You have to try to translate your life story in a way that it can be understood by the audience. You have to talk about things or present them in a way that the people can follow you. It's as easy as it sounds. If you're talking about situations and problems in your life that are too abstract, too complicated, no one can follow you. And you're losing the audience. You have to tell the story of your life in a way that the people can identify with, in a way that we can create some empathy, that we can, as an audience, feel what you have felt. And then the connection is there. If it's too abstract, too unrealistic, it's over. No one will connect with you and your story. That's the problem. Also, if it's too long and too boring. And what is too long? And what is too boring? What is the definition of that? You will see it in the face of your audience. This is something you can only feel because we cannot measure it like this. We cannot say, okay, listen, we generalize a good story doesn't last longer than 10 minutes. That's bullshit. If it's interesting, if you can tell it in a appealing way, you can also tell a story for 1.5 hours. It's not a problem. But something has to happen. Something that is connecting with the audience. Something that makes them feel your happiness, your pain, your hope, your suffering, all the different emotions. It has to be clearly understandable.
Right. And what were the key points in your life that changed your inner narrative?
I mean, my life is not so normal, I would say. Not because I'm arrogant, but it happened the way it happened. So I had some moments, some of these plot points in my life. An example. I am a former officer of the Austrian Armed Forces. I have done the military academy in Wiener Neustadt, about 50 kilometers south of Vienna. I have done all of this military training, which was very hard, which was very intense, to get my bachelor's degree in Arts of Military Leadership. I was in Vienna also. Many days, many hours spent in beautiful Vienna. Everything was there. My career was like climbing a mountain, step by step, more and more reaching for the stars. And when I left Vienna, I came to a special city in Austria called Klagenfurt. And everything beautiful was gone. In Vienna, I had a beautiful love story, a lot of friends around myself, a lot of things to do. And then I came to Klagenfurt, to a military barracks, and everything disappeared. I was alone. I lost all of the beauty, all of the society events I had around myself, and I felt very sad. After some time, I met a woman, and I fell in love right away. She was much older than me, but she was my painkiller for loneliness in the darkness of Klagenfurt. And these are some plot points. I start with a good time at the military academy in Vienna, beautiful life, full of friends and fun. Then I lose everything. What is my obstacle? how can I overcome loneliness?
I think it's a very interesting story, and you have this way of telling the story in an electrifying manner. What would really interest me is how your self-image changed over this course, over this period that you just described. How did you see yourself when you were in Vienna? How did you see yourself arriving in Klagenfurt, and then later on when this love story developed?
When I was in Vienna and when I was at the military academy, I didn't think so much about the future. I was in the present moment, and I thought that I can be a military student like for the rest of my life. I didn't want to be friend with reality. I wanted to keep this dream alive. And of course, when you have to leave this beautiful area that you're used to, and you leave your comfort zone and you're in a new setting, you see that maybe you have followed some kind of illusion, and you fall down and you see that, yeah, it's time to face a new period of your life. And what did it do to me? I think it didn't really change me so much. What had a bigger impact on my life was a little bit later on, when I took off for a day that really should change the rest of my life, or maybe end the rest of my life.
Was that during your period in Klagenfurt when this day happened?
Yeah. So I left the military academy. I went to Klagenfurt to be a deputy commander of a military unit. And about 3 to 4 months later, I went to do a ski tour in the mountains of Carinthia. I already had this new love story in my life, which made it easier to live in Klagenfurt. And then I went to this mountain, and it was a beautiful day. It was so beautiful. There was no clouds, there was just the sun shining, and I was full of happiness. And I thought, let's go on this beautiful tour with my comrades. Everything is looking perfect, like in a dream. But this dream should turn into a nightmare. And what happened was, when I was on top of the mountain, I was getting ready to ski down into the valley, and I lost my right ski. And in this moment, when my ski opened, I fell in free fall from the mountain ridge where I was skiing. Just like this. Just in a second. And I had no control anymore over my life. Some people also call this a near-death experience.
Did you have the feeling that time in this moment slowed down?
Absolutely, yes. This is the crucial point. It was very interesting because I was just falling down in free fall for about 150 meters. Maybe this took about 4 to 5 seconds maximum, but it felt like an eternity. It was like everything playing in slow motion. This was really, really interesting because this was the only time in my life when I felt that time and space have no importance anymore. It was like being really in between different dimensions. And I am not an esoteric person. I'm a spiritual person, yes. But in general, I do not believe in the paranormal stuff and everything. I'm very hands-on and so on. But this very, very special moment was something I'm still having in my soul. I'm not traumatized at all because I survived. I got a second chance from life, and that's beautiful. But when you're there, it feels like something supernatural.
Did you have the feeling that part of you or a special version of you died back then on the mountain and a new version emerged? How would you describe that?
I don't think that a new version emerged. I think that a more determined version emerged. Because if I had to die that day, it would have been the best day of my life to leave the planet. Because I have done everything before this day in a perfect way. I finished my military academy with excellence. I found one of the love stories, of the biggest love stories of my life. And I did beautiful things. So I was ready to leave life with no regret. And this is what I'm still living for. To live every day as if it would be my last.
I think this is a very wonderful credo. And an astrophysicist told me that actually only the current moment ever exists. And the future is something that we can think of, like that we can imagine in pictures. And the past is something that we can remember, but only really the current moment exists. And this comes very similar to what you are saying now.
But this is beautiful.
To use it.
And we have to be able more often in our lives to raise this awareness and try more to live in the present moment. Also myself. It's not always easy to be here. But we have to do things that bring us here more often. Have a beautiful relationship. Kiss. Eat good stuff. Have a good glass of wine. Go out into the nature. Do things that bring us in the present moment. This happens to me when I fall in love, for example. So I have some moments in my life that I can remember when I first kissed, for example, the woman I was talking about in this period of my life. Oh, this first kiss was crazy. This was also some kind of near-death experience.
Yeah, I think these are the moments in life that seem to us as not milliseconds, but years when you are in them.
Yes, and these are moments when you feel freedom of time and space. And that's what I'm aiming at. I'm trying to find some situations in my life that bring me to the present moment. But that's something we have to work for as well. We have to be creative. We have to travel. We have to meet people. We have to do things that bring us joy and that really lead us to the present moment. Even right now, during this conversation, I'm so happy that we're talking about it, about the present moment, because when I'm leaving the studio later on, I will try to focus on that. I will try to focus on that again and again. I'm glad that you remembered me to do so. But it is wonderful when a conversation can remind you of things.
Especially of such important things. And remembering this and trying and working on being more present is especially important in today's society, I would think, where lots of what is going on out there is just trying to capture your attention and capture your focus away from the
absolutely,
present moment.
absolutely. One of the biggest problem is something you're holding in your right hand, the mobile phone.
Absolutely.
So what I do, especially on weekends, but also during the week, I just put my phone away because this is killing my focus. It's draining my energy. It's interrupting me on my way to the stars. And that's a problem. So I used to develop the habit just to put the phone away, for example, from 7 in the morning to 1 p.m. I just don't touch my phone. And I don't care if someone is calling me or whatever. I just don't touch it. Or at least the first hour, the first 2 hours in the morning when I'm getting up. I want to be with my morning routine. I don't want to read messages. I don't want to have any kind of interruption in my flow when I'm starting a new day. I think that's so important. We have to learn to get rid of the phone more and more because it's just crazy, especially social media.
It's definitely an important habit. And what you're doing right there is, again, standing up for yourself, telling yourself that you are important, right? More important than what is going on out there.
Yeah. What I do, for example, is at night, before going to bed, starting from maybe 8:30 p.m., I put the phone away. And I read. I read books until I fall asleep. No screen time, or I do some journaling, but I do things that you can touch physically. Or I do some music playing, whatever. But I don't touch the phone, and I'm not going on Instagram and whatever anymore at night.
At which time did you figure out that these routines are important for you?
This was learning by doing. I mean, I have a military background. Life in the military is like a Swiss watch. It is perfectly calculated and calibrated, and there are some systems working. And this discipline that I have learned during my time as an officer of the Austrian Armed Forces is still with me. It's maybe one of the biggest presents that the Austrian Armed Forces gave to me, to give me some guidance how I can control myself better. And if you have this small discipline already starting in the morning, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you do some sports, you do some meditation. If you're doing this again and again, the day already starts with success, with some small success results. And there, momentum is born. And this is continuing for the rest of the day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you said in the beginning, that when you figure out what you love, you need less energy for everything. When you start your day right, you need less energy because you have this momentum going through it all, right?
And you start the day with positivity.
Yeah.
And then you're more resilient and you're able to face bigger problems throughout the day in a much easier way. And that's the point. You are getting charged in the morning, like fully charged.
You said in the beginning that you also teach men how to carry themselves, how to embody something that they want to stand for. When did you start this, and how did you figure out that this is your mission?
I have had several problems and obstacles in my life, and I'm still having several problems and obstacles to deal with. But I see that many, especially young men, are coming to me and asking, listen, how can I dress up in a more elegant way? How can I communicate better with people? How can I sit at a table in an elegant and comfortable way? How can I better behave in society? How can I stand out while being myself? And I have all these topics and always people coming to me, and then I thought, okay, listen, I have to become a trainer for good manners and style. Apparently, many people are asking me these questions, so I'm turning this into a business case. And it's not just a business case, it's a pleasure, first of all. And I'm teaching good manners, style, behavior at the military academy as well. So they called me to come back and to do so. And I'm there as a guest teacher because I perfectly know what is needed inside the military structures and outside the military structures.
And do you only teach military men, or are also young entrepreneurs?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I'm doing courses, seminars for good manners, for style, for communication, also outside the military, mainly outside.
Would you say that in the age that we live now, that it became more important to embody these kind of traits, or is it becoming less and less important?
I think it's becoming more and more important again, because nobody learns how to behave oneself in society. It's just a few people, maybe coming from very rich families, maybe people from the military, maybe people working in public service or something like that. But society in general, where can you learn how to deal with people? Where do you learn these soft skills? How to network, how to present yourself, how to dress up, some basics, some basic rules of living together, respect, being friendly, how to criticize another person, but with taste and not in a destructive way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the point. These are some skills that are difficult to be found out there, but they are so fundamental. And in a world that is rushing, that is moving faster and faster in a very digitalized way, the personal contact is getting lost, is disappearing more and more. And this is why I think it's even more important right now to reacquire these skills of meeting people personally, of looking them in their eyes, of talking to them, of feeling them. Because this is the most important thing in life. Ourselves and the people around us. If I cannot deal with people, I will not be able to climb any other mountain in my life.
I think you are very right there, because in the end, and I don't know if you have heard about this or if you believe in this, we are all connected as humanity. And if we cannot interact with each other, if you cannot tell stories to each other, we are not working on the same story, right? We cannot create together. And this is why it is so important.
Yeah. I have to meet people constantly. In my life, in my daily life, I'm somebody networking all of the time, of course. As an entrepreneur, honing our network is at least half of the time we have to invest to achieve success. And when you meet a lot of people, you have to know how to deal with them. You have to develop these skills. Because the better you can deal with people, the better you can read them, the better you can be understood by them. This will lead you to success. And if you're a sociopath, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have a hard time in business and in private life.
Where do you see society going in like 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to be optimistic. It's very difficult to answer this question in a serious way. I can only talk about my own perspective. I think especially the trend of artificial intelligence can be something creating progress for society, making decisions faster and maybe also creating some more free time for people. But we don't have to forget to use our own intelligence and to lose the connection between the people. And I think that we are living in a world that is always moving faster, that is more and more digital. And this trend will continue for the next years. So we have to try to find some techniques and some approaches that guarantee that we can remain in our human nature and that we don't become too stupid like robots.
I think we are somewhat at an inflection point in society right now where society has to decide, right, in which direction it should go.
Yeah. I think it's important to do things that you can touch, to meet people, and to be part of the real world, and not to isolate yourself more and more behind your phone, behind your screen. You have to go out there into the marketplace, meet people, talk to them, be part of the society, of the real physical society, not the digital society. Because digital, you have this everywhere. That's the impression I have.
Yeah, I think you're right. You also have to go out and, as you said in the beginning, search for the obstacles, the pain. And you can only meet this in the real life, right? Because in the digital life, you can simply switch off and the pain is gone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who would you say is God for you?
What an excellent question. God for me is when I'm in the flow. This is where I find God. I'm a Catholic person, yes, but in general, I think God is in ourselves. And I can feel this spiritual connection when I am doing what I love. For example, when I'm editing a film. And I am there in the moment and I am in this flow and I can do this for hours and hours and hours and hours, ceaselessly. And then I build a scene with motion picture and music and I create something higher than myself. This is God for me.
Yeah, because you actually are creating, right? You're living your purpose.
Yeah, this is where I see God and where I can feel it.
Beautiful.
And this is where I know what is my purpose. And I think you can find out what your purpose is just by doing and failing and doing and failing again until you are there at this sweet spot. and you can find something that is incredibly making you happy day and night, even if you had the worst day of your life, and you do this specific action and it brings you into a flow state, this is where you should go. This is what you should follow in your life. I'm very happy that I found this. Many people don't find this. But I wish everyone to find it. But it can only be found inside yourself. You can only find this happiness and satisfaction inside yourself. And you can only find it if you move. If you go out into the marketplace.
Do you believe that on that day on the mountain, something kept you alive to figure this out, to find your purpose?
I think that I was a very optimistic and positive person even before my accident. I was a big dreamer. And this was 100% the fuel for my soul to make me come back into life. Because of course, after my accident, I had to be in a wheelchair for some time. I had to undergo a lot of clinical operations and so on. So it was not like very, very easy to walk again, to run again and everything. But if you have the right mindset, you can do it. And this is what we have to work for. It's just like the mindset for me is something you have to take care of all the time. It's like a room in an apartment, and sometimes you find some dirt around it, and you have to clean it again and again and again. And you have to keep it clean and in order. Because it cannot be static. It's something organically developing. It's static the moment you die. And this is where the work ends in our life.
Absolutely. What is the next big project for you? Or is there a film that you have not made yet, but you know that you have to do?
I was in front of the computer the whole day today. I was working on a pitch deck for my next feature film, which will take place in Italy, in the south. It's a love story. It's a violent story, a dramatic story, and at the same time a very romantic story. With an happy ending, because this is what I love. And I was very tired during the whole day. But I knew that I have to keep on going, because there is something important in development. And if it would be that easy to be successful, everybody wants to be successful, everybody would be successful if it was easy. And I think that I am successful. But I live by the saying, success is never owned. It is always rented. And the rent is due every day. And I know that it is a process. So I am every day taking action to realize the projects I want in life. And I'm focusing on one big baby at a time, not on 10 at the same time. One, and the focus is everything. And today I was working on the development of this next film, and I was just doing the pitch deck the whole day, because I'm sending the pitch deck tonight to some new potential investors that are interested in it. But now comes the most important point. It's been different months now. So I've been looking for investors for more than half a year. And I am constantly adjusting and perfectioning the way I pitch. Even if I know that I'm a better pitcher than most of the people out there. Not because I'm arrogant, but because I know how to sell. And I love it. And I love to present my idea. But still, it's never perfect enough. It's a process. I'm presenting. I'm trying to convince others of my vision. I'm getting feedback. And then I bring the feedback into the process. And I'm adjusting. Step by step. And what I can say is that it's like not only the target that is important, but it is the path, the process. Does it make me happy? I want to be every day a better version of myself. Step by step. And I am also happy when I'm criticized. I love it. Because I'm hungry. I want to hear questions that bring me in a difficult situation. Because I want to develop. This is what I'm telling people also after my big shows and everything. I'm telling them, listen, after 1.5 hours of show with my survival story, which is called Mein Glücksfall in German, Alive Again in English, I'm telling the people at the end of the show, you can ask me whatever I want. I'm telling the people after the show, ask me whatever you want. There is no limits. Please ask me difficult questions because I'm hungry. I don't like easy. I like hard. Ask me difficult questions. Bring me into a difficult situation, please. Because I want to develop. I want to grow. I don't want to hear all the time, you're the number one. You're the best. No, I don't need it. I want to hear, what the hell is this? Why are you doing that? Because only there growth is possible. When it's painful. When it's not pleasant.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, right? Becoming the best version of yourself, one step at a time. Being in the moment and enjoying the process.
Yes, and at the same time, yes, it's important to try to do some progress, to make progress, to be a better version of yourself every day. And at the same time, it's important to be happy and satisfied with yourself and telling yourself, hey, it's great what you have done so far. I am proud of myself. I thank myself for not giving up. Even if it's hard sometimes, even if in many moments of my life, I'm the only one believing in myself. I still believe in myself and I never give up. And this is the most important thing. You have to be able to look yourself into the mirror and to be proud of yourself and to dare to be proud of yourself because it takes courage and to love yourself. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Showing up for yourself, being there.
But it's also a very hard thing.
Antonio, it was a wonderful pleasure talking with you. I'm being very happy that I got so many insights into your life, into how you developed over the years and what you do. And I'm very much looking forward to see your next feature film. And maybe you want to tell the audience one sentence, one thing that they should take from your story.
I will share a quote that my best friend told me some years ago when I was having a hard time, when I had to believe in myself. Not 100%, 300%. Because I had to face a very brutal obstacle. And he told me, adversity causes some men to break and others to break records. And this is how I want to end this episode today. And this is what I'm thinking about when I'm running in the morning at 5:30 a.m. And this is giving me just like a nitro boost.
Thank you, Antonio. That was beautiful. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, learn from you?
Just look for me on Instagram under Antonio La Regina, or on my homepage, Stilkraft Film. So there is many options to get in touch. And I'm looking forward.
Thank you.
Super.